Ever feel like, understanding the legal world requires some kind of secret decoder ring? Like the important stuff is buried under jargon.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of being lost when dealing with legal things is what's really common. It feels like a whole different world sometimes.
So today, we're looking at a collection of stories that kind of pull back that curtain. We're exploring these narratives about a young guy just starting out in law.
Right, and we see the human side, the struggles, the ethical knots he gets tied up in as he tries to navigate it all.
Yeah, and it's not just dry legal stuff. It's about real people, tough choices, and how sometimes, seeking justice clashes with the way the system actually works.
We got thinking about this kind of narrative analysis, partly inspired by Mindful Moments, the YouTube
The
channel.
one that uses AI to break down books.
Exactly. It gets you thinking critically about stories and what's really going on beneath the surface. So we wanted to apply a similar lens here.
So imagine getting a shortcut through that initial confusion, seeing the human stories behind the cases. That's what we're aiming for.
Okay, so let's dive in. We start with Rudy Baylor. He's about to graduate law school, and he's volunteering, giving free legal advice at a senior center.
Right, with his friend Booker and this other guy, F. Franklin Donaldson IV, who sounds a bit full of himself.
Just a tad. And you see this contrast. Immediately, they look like they should know everything, but really they're inexperienced, maybe even a little scared.
Then Miss Birdie comes along, wants Rudy to draft her will.
And this is where it gets tricky, ethically. She wants to leave almost everything to this TV personality, Kenneth Chandler.
Wait, a TV preacher or something?
Sort of, yeah. And just a small bit to four others. Rudy feels, well, uncomfortable about it. You can see the internal conflict starting right away. Is this undue influence? Should he even do it?
Heavy stuff for someone just starting.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then, almost right after, he meets Dot and Buddy Black.
Ah, the insurance case. This is central, isn't it?
It really is. Their son, Johnny Ray, he's seriously ill. And their insurance company, Great Benefit Life, keeps denying the claim for a potentially life-saving treatment.
And they sent that unbelievable letter.
The stupid letter, yeah. Denying the claim for the 8th and final time, saying, and this is almost verbatim, you must be stupid, stupid, stupid.
That's just, oh, wow. Especially when they'd always paid their premiums, right?
Never missed one. It's just incredibly callous. And Rudy, you see him connect with the blacks immediately. Their desperation, their hope resting on him, a student.
The weight of that must have been immense.
You can only imagine. Then, adding insult to injury, the job Rudy thought he had lined up.
At Broadnax and Spear? Yeah, what happened there?
Proof gone. The firm merges with another big one, Tinley Britt, remember that name, and they fire all the associates, including Rudy.
So now he's broke, basically.
Pretty much. He's got debts, people suing him. It's not looking good. The law school placement director, Madeline Skinner, she tries to help, but jobs are scarce.
So what does he do?
He decides to just start his own practice. A tiny little office. Miss Birdie actually cheers him on, which is sweet, but maybe, a bit out of touch with the reality of it.
Still, coins for trying. But how does he even get started?
Well, funny story. He's at his own creditor meeting, dealing with his own debts, and bumps into this bankruptcy lawyer, Robbie Mulk.
Serendipity. Or maybe just desperation meeting opportunity.
A bit of both, maybe. This leads him to taking a job, if you can call it that, with a lawyer named Bruiser Stone.
Bruiser.
Okay, that doesn't sound entirely conventional.
Not at all. The pay isn't really a salary. It's more like a loan. And it's peanuts.
Bruiser seems to have some questionable connections.
And he has an associate.
Deck Shiflett. Now, Deck is something else.
Yeah.
Pure ambulance chaser.
Oh, one of those.
Exactly. There's this scene where they literally go to a hospital room to sign up a guy, Dan Van Landel, who's just been in a car wreck.
Yikes.
And Deck tells Rudy, don't act like a lawyer. Basically, just get the client, forget the niceties.
That must have grated against Rudy's instincts, surely, given his feelings about the Black case.
You see that struggle. He's uncomfortable with Deck's methods, the solicitation, the ethics of it all, but at the same time, his drive to help the Blacks, to fight Great Benefit, is just getting stronger.
Especially as Donnie Ray gets sicker.
Right. And the more Rudy digs into Great Benefit, the more it looks like blatant bad faith. He hits the law library, researching these kinds of cases.
And realizes this isn't just about the Blacks.
He starts seeing it's a pattern, a widespread issue. Meanwhile, Great Benefit's lawyers, Tinley Britt, the same firm that merged with Rudy's potential employer, they file a motion to dismiss.
Led by a heavy hitter.
Leo F. Drummond, a very powerful, very experienced lawyer. It's David versus Goliath, truly.
Seems completely overwhelming for Rudy. Any breaks go his way?
A couple, yeah. He meets with Judge Tyrone Kipler, who seems sympathetic and wants to move the Black case along quickly. That's a big deal.
Getting a judge on your side early helps.
Definitely. And then comes the potential key. They find out about Jackie Lemanzix.
Who's she?
A former claims examiner for great benefit. Someone with inside knowledge of how they operated. They have to track her down in Cleveland.
Ah, the whistleblower. That feels like a turning point. This kind of reminds me of how things like mindful moments or even our conversations try to dig out those crucial hidden pieces of information.
Exactly. And getting her testimony is vital. The depositions they take in Cleveland are explosive.
What comes out?
Jackie reveals Great Benefit had an actual policy: deny first, ask questions later. Basically, deny all claims initially.
Seriously, just standard operating procedure.
Barely. And even more damning, she reveals they specifically changed the section in their procedures about bone marrow transplants after the Blacks filed their lawsuit.
Wow, covering their tracks.
Looks that way. Plus, they bring in an expert witness, Dr. Walter Cord, who completely contradicts the defense's claim that the transplant was just experimental.
So the case is looking stronger. Now the trial itself.
It's intense. Jury selection's tough. Finding people without strong feelings about insurance companies isn't easy.
I can imagine. Any key moments stand out?
Oh, yeah. Rudy confronts the Great Benefit claim supervisor, Everett Lufkin, about the claims manual, specifically the part about bone marrow transplants that seems to have disappeared.
The part Jackie mentioned.
Precisely. Lufkin squirms.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jackie Lemanzix herself testifies. Very powerful, laying out the company's deliberate bad faith practices.
What about the regulators? Doesn't the state oversee insurance companies?
Well, the state insurance regulator, a Mr. Weeks, testifies. But his testimony mostly highlights how difficult it is to really police such a massive industry. They're often overwhelmed.
So, limited oversight in practice. Did the defense try to undermine Jackie?
Oh, absolutely. They tried hard to discredit her, paint her as disgruntled. Standard tactic.
But the jury buys her story.
They do. The verdict comes back in favor of the Blacks. Big time. Not just actual damages, but a huge amount in punitive damages.
Punitive meaning meant to punish Great Benefit.
Exactly. A signal that the jury found their conduct outrageous. Drummond, the defense lawyer, is stunned. But you know it's not over. Appeals are inevitable.
Of course. But still, a massive win for Rudy and the Blacks.
A huge moral victory, and potentially financial, initially. But it takes a toll. You see the personal impact on Rudy, and especially on Dot Black.
And Rudy's work isn't just this one case, is it? There's another client.
Right. He also takes on Kelly Riker's case. She's a victim of domestic abuse, needs help with a divorce. It shows he's still driven to help vulnerable people, even outside the big insurance fight.
Okay, so the verdict is in, appeals are pending. Then what?
Then comes the final brutal twist.
Yep.
Shortly after the verdict, Great Benefit files for bankruptcy.
No. Seriously, after all that.
Yep. Throws everything into chaos. Suddenly, that huge verdict might mean nothing. Or very little.
So the Blacks might get nothing. What about Jackie?
It impacts everyone connected to the company. The bankruptcy courts take over. It really underscores how volatile these things are. A win isn't always a win.
Just devastating. What does Rudy do then?
Well, amidst all this uncertainty, he decides to join forces with Finley and Fig.
Another law firm. Are they like Bruiser?
Smaller, maybe a bit unconventional, but seems different from Bruiser's operation.
Yeah.
It feels like a new chapter for Rudy, maybe a shift in how he approaches his career after everything he's been through.
What a journey. So looking back at all this, these early experiences of Rudy's, they really paint a picture, don't they?
They really do. You see the complexity, the ethical tightropes, the sheer fight involved in taking on powerful interests. It's not just law. It's deeply human.
From the vulnerable people needing help, like the Blacks or Miss Burry or Kelly, to the massive corporations trying to avoid accountability.
And think about times you faced something that felt too complex, too big, maybe an institution that seemed indifferent. Rudy's story, when you look at it closely, kind of like how mindful moments encourages critical viewing.
It pushes you to look deeper, right? Beyond the surface, understand the human stories underneath, the power dynamics.
Exactly. What does it really mean to be well-informed or to understand something fully, especially when things seem unjust or confusing?
Maybe it means not just taking things at face value, seeking out those individual stories, questioning the systems themselves.
It's about engaging critically, thinking about how these structures affect real lives.
So if this exploration sparked your curiosity, definitely subscribe for more discussions like this.
Yeah, and share with someone you think might find it interesting. If you're able, consider using the purchase link in the show notes to support this content.
And most importantly, keep thinking critically. Question the information you come across every single day.